A warm welcome to all the students for this lecture number 24. Today we shall see how Java manages errors and exceptions. What are the different types of errors that we have? We usually have two types of errors. We have something called as compile time errors and we have something called as runtime errors. Now, when we talk about compile time errors, all the syntax errors which will be always detected and displayed by Java compiler, and therefore these errors are called as compile time errors because the compilers bring these particular errors into picture. Whenever the compiler displays an error, it will not create the .class file. Okay, as we know that .class or the bytecode file is created only after successful compilation. So if you have an compile time error, Java will not create the .class file, and it is therefore necessary that we fix all the errors, especially the compile time errors, before we can successfully compile and run any program. Most of the compile time errors are due to our typing mistakes. Typographical errors are very hard to find if the code is very big. We may have to check the code word by word or even character by character. Especially in Java where the keywords are very big. Okay, and if you are using something like Notepad to type your code, it will be very difficult for you to find out the compile time errors unless you are using some IDE where there is a color code. The most common compile time errors or typo errors that we make are 1. Missing semicolons, missing or mismatch of brackets in the classes or methods that we define, misspelling of identifiers and keywords, missing double quotes in strings, use of undeclared variables, incompatible types in assignment or in initialization, bad references to objects, and use of assignment operator in place of equality operator, and the list continues. So these are the mostly found compile time errors. Now let us go to the second type of error, which is called as runtime error. Sometimes a program may compile successfully, so it may create a .class file, but when we try to run this particular file, bytecode file, using Java interpreter, the program may not run properly. Why? Because there might be, or there is a very high chance that in that code there is a runtime error. Such programs may produce wrong results due to wrong logic or may terminate due to errors such as stack overflow. Let us see the most common runtime errors that we encounter. Dividing an integer by 0. Accessing an element that is out of bounds of a given array. Trying to store a value into an array of an incompatible class or type. Trying to cast an instance of a class to one of its subclasses. Passing a parameter that is not in the valid range or value for a method. Trying to illegally change the state of a thread. Attempting to use negative size for an array. Using a null object reference as a legitimate object reference to access a method or a variable. Converting invalid string to a number, or accessing a character that is out of bound of a string, and the list continues. So these are all the mostly commonly found runtime errors. Now just to show you the difference, this is a code which contains a compile time error. Okay, I have a class called as error1 in which in the public static void main I am just printing a message called as hello Java. However, I have forgotten to place a semicolon here. As a result, when the compiler encounters this file, when you compile this program, you get this output, error1.java. So this is a file which is currently compiled, and in this file at seventh step, okay, semicolon is expected. Where exactly? It also tells you system.out.println hello Java, and here, that is next here, there should be semicolon. So this is one error. So this is a compile time error which is found out by the compiler itself. Now second kind of error, that is runtime error, compiler will not detect it, mainly because there could be some logical problem, or there could be something like divide by 0 and so on. So this is second example. I have created a class called as error2, and in public static void main I am declaring three variables here, integer variables a, b, c with value 10, 5 and 5. Then I have this particular formula, x is equal to a divided by b minus c. Now as you can see, a happens to be 10, b and c both are 5, so 5 minus 5 will give you 0. So it will be 10 divided by 0. So it is divide by 0 exception or runtime error, right? Then you are trying to print the value of x, and then you are going to similarly calculate what is y. Y has another formula here, say a divided by b plus c, and ultimately then you are going to print the value of y. Again see, there should not be semicolon here, there is a dot over here, okay. By mistake we have put semicolon here, there should be dot here. So what this code should do is, it should calculate the value of x and print the value of x, then it should calculate the value of y and print the value of y. However, because b and c have the same values 5 and 5, when you perform b minus c, okay, you get the value 0, and any number divided by 0 is nothing but divide by 0 exception. As a result, when you compile this code, okay, Java raises an exception called as java.lang.arithmetic exception. Okay, there are so many different exceptions. Out of this, there is one class called as arithmetic exception class, which handles the exception something like divide by 0 exception. So this particular exception is present in java.lang package. So the output, it shows java.lang.arithmetic exception, and what is the exception? It mentions that it is divide by 0 exception at error2.main error2.java at line number 10. Okay, so notice that although after calculating the value of x, I had to print the value of x, then calculate the value of y and print the value of y, but what has happened is, the moment compiler encounters an exception over here, it gives the output, it raises that arithmetic exception, and then the program terminates here, it does not execute the remaining part of the code. Okay, so instead of abruptly stopping any program, okay, for better management of these runtime errors, we have something called as exception handling. The mechanism wherein, suppose an exception is found at this particular line, okay, there will be some blocks that will handle this exception, and the program will not stop abruptly. After handling this exception, the program will continue from the next line, and it will execute all that is remaining to be executed in public static void main. So that is basically exception handling that we are looking out for. So exception handling, an exception is a condition that is caused by a runtime error in the program. When the Java interpreter encounters an error such as divide by 0 or dividing an integer by 0, it creates an exception object and it throws it. If the exception object is not caught and handled properly, the interpreter will display an error message and it will terminate the program. So like in our previous example, I had not incorporated any exception handling code inside. So what Java interpreter did was, it only raised an exception, okay, and it printed a message, and after printing the message, it did not execute the remaining part of the code, it simply terminated the entire program. Now, if we want the program to continue with the execution of the remaining code, even after the exception is encounter and then it is handled, if you want to continue the remaining code execution, then we should try to catch the exception object thrown by the error condition and then display an appropriate message for taking corrective actions. And this task is known as exception handling. So in general, what is exception handling? Suppose in a program, on a particular line, there is a statement which raises an exception. Exception handling mechanism is the one wherein there will be some mechanism that you will incorporate in your code, so that if there is an exception found at a particular line, that block which you have introduced will catch that exception, and then program will not terminate abruptly. Rather, after catching and handling the exception, the program will continue with the remaining part of the code. So that is basically exception handling which we want to achieve. Before we go with an example of exception handling, let us see what are the different common exceptions in Java. So these are all the inbuilt classes which are present in java.lang. The first one is arithmetic exception, which you have just seen. Okay, this arithmetic exception is caused by mathematical errors such as divide by 0. Then there is array index out of bound exception. As the name suggests, it is caused by bad array indexes. If one is trying to access an array element which is out of the bound of an array, then this array index out of bound exception is raised. We have array store exception, which is caused when a program tries to store the wrong type of data in an array. There is file not found exception, which is caused by an attempt to access any non-existent file. There is IO exception, which is caused by general input-output failures such as inability to read from a file. There is null pointer exception, which is caused by referencing a null object. There is number format exception, which is caused when a conversion between a string and number it fails. That is called as number format exception. You have out of memory exception, which is caused when there is not enough memory to allocate a new object. You have security exception, which is caused when applet tried to perform an action which is not allowed by the browser's security settings. There is stack overflow exception, which is caused when the system fails, when the system runs out of the stack space. Then last, there is a string index out of bounds exception, which is caused when program attempts to access a non-existent character position in a string. So these are different exception types that we find in Java. Exceptions can be broadly categorized into two types. One, the exception which we as a developer of a program, which we handle, and second, exception that are automatically handled by the interpreter. So in the first category, we have checked exceptions. These exceptions are explicitly handled in the code by the developers itself with the help of a proper try and catch block mechanisms. Checked exceptions are extended from the java.lang.exception class. And we have unchecked exceptions which we don't handle as programmers, but automatically the interpreter will take care of. So these exceptions are not essentially handled in the program code. Instead, the Java virtual machine handles such exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are extended from java.lang.runtimeException class. It is very important to note that the checked and unchecked exceptions are absolutely similar as far as their functionality is concerned. The only difference lies in the way they are handled. This is a small example, of how try and catch mechanism works in exception handling. So user will be writing a try block, and in this try block you will have statements that can cause exception. So you will be writing all the statements which at any point of time might cause an exception. All those statements should come under your try block. So try block is basically exception object creator. Now try block will just go through different statements, and the moment it feels that yes, there is an exception raised by this particular statement, it will throw that exception object, okay, out of the try block. You require a catch block to be written. This catch block will have statements that will handle the exception which is just thrown by the try block. So catch block contains statements that handles the exception which is thrown by the try block. So catch block is also called as exception handler. To better understand, let us see an example. I have created a class called as exception demo inside a package called as exception demo. In main, I am declaring three variables A, B and C with value 10, 5 and 5. Besides, there are two variables X and Y. What this code does is, it tries, okay, there is a try block which I have written here. It tries to see whether there is any exception which is raised by this statement. Okay, it computes what is X. X is given by A divided by B minus C. Now notice that B is 5 and C is also 5. So the moment you say B minus C, 5 minus 5 will give you 0. And we already know that any valid number A divided by 0 will cause an exception which is called as divide by 0 exception. So the moment this divide by 0 exception occurs, the try block will throw the exception object, and you require a catch block that will catch this particular exception object and handle it. Notice that we have seen different types of exceptions. Divide by 0 falls under something called as arithmetic exception. So inside the catch block we have created an object of type arithmetic exception. Object name is E. Catch block, the moment exception is caught by the catch block, it will simply print a message that divide by 0 exceptions occurred. Now the beauty of exception handling is, although for this particular one line, say there is an exception that is occurred, try block will throw it, catch block will catch it, and once the catch block is executed, that means the exception that occurred while calculating the value of X, once the catch block has handled this exception, the program will not abruptly stop, rather it will continue its execution. So after doing this, there is C, it is calculating the value of Y. So Y is nothing but A divided by B plus C. A is 10 and B is 5, C is 5. So 5 plus 5, 10. Right? So B plus C, that is 5 plus 5, 10, and A value is 10. So 10 divided by 10, that is the value of Y, and it prints the value of Y. As we run this program, you will realize that first, since B is 5 and C is 5, B minus C gives you 0, so there is an exception. So the moment while calculating the value of X, there is an exception that occurs. Try block has thrown the exception object which is caught by the catch block. You will see a message which is printed, that is divide by 0. Okay, you can see here divide by 0 messages occurred, but the program does not stop. What program does is, after this particular exception is handled, it goes to the next line of the code, wherein it calculates what is Y. Y is nothing but 10 divided by 5 plus 5, that is 10. And what is 10 divided by 10? The answer is 1. It calculates the value of Y, and finally it displays the value of Y, that is 1. So if you see the output, you see that first it has found out that there is an exception that has occurred while calculating the value of X. So exception handling mechanism, that is catch block, is called. Catch block catches the exception and it prints a message divide by 0. The program continues its execution when it tries to calculate the value of Y, which is found out to be 1, and then it prints the value of Y, that is 1. Let us see another example. In this program, we are trying to catch invalid command line arguments. As we know, command line arguments are supplied, okay, during the time of execution, okay, from the command prompt. Now, in the public static void main, I have declared a variable called as invalid, which is initialized to 0. There are two variables, number and count, both set to 0. Now, So when you run the program, you can see the output. When you are going to run this full program, it will be running like this: javac invalid command argument demo.java. So the bytecode file will be created. Then by executing this particular Java bytecode file, you say java invalid command argument demo, and I am supplying 1, 2, 3, 4 command line arguments: 15, 30, Java and 35. These are the 4 command line arguments that are passed. Okay. So now in public static void main, what we are doing, now for I equal to 0, I less than arguments dot length, that means this for loop will continue till all the elements which are there in that particular command line argument set, all of them are executed. Okay, so that's why the length of here, the length of the arguments is basically 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so for I equal to 0, is 0 less than 4? Yes, it goes here. Now there is a try block and it finds out. Okay, so number is equal to, number is an integer value, that is equal to, you are trying to convert the string argument I. Now what is argument I? That is arg of 0. Arg of 0 is 15. So it tries to convert 15 into integer and number stores 15. There is no exception that is raised. So catch block will be skipped and count will be incremented by 1, which means we have just now found one valid command line argument, which is integer argument. Okay. So count will be incremented by 1. So count, which was initialized to 0, now count is 1. Okay. Now this is a closing bracket of the for loop. So for the next iteration, I will be incremented and again it will check. So I was 0, now I is 1. Is 1 less than the length of the arguments? How many arguments are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1 is still less than 4. So it enters the for loop for the second time. Now it checks number equal to integer.parseInt args of 1. What is args of 1? It is 30. So this string 30 is converted using integer.parseInt and the converted integer value is stored in number. So the number now contains 30. Again, since there is no exception which is raised, the catch block will be skipped and count will be simply incremented by 1. So count is, now the count was 1, now it becomes 2. That means we have found two valid two valid integer numbers which are passed from the command line argument. Okay. Then there is a closing bracket. So again the third iteration starts. Now I is equal to 2. Okay, again 2 is less than args.length. So it comes here and now it tries to find out, okay, what is number? Number equal to integer.parseInt args of I is the argument that is passed. What is args of I? Okay, args of I Java. Right? Now see that Java is not a valid number. So even if I do integer.parseInt of Java, this will not be able to store in number which is integer. As a result here, now the exception is occurred. The moment exception occurred, what kind of exception it is? The exceptions occurred because of the number format problem. Because the command line argument that is passed here is Java, which is not a valid number, and that's why Java cannot be assigned to an integer variable called as number. So that raises an exception. Try block is going to throw this object which will be caught by the catch block, which is handling number format exception. Catch block will increment invalid by 1. Invalid variables count was 0. Now invalid is equal to invalid plus 1. Which means so far out of all command line argument, there is one invalid argument that we have encountered. And it will simply print invalid number args of I. Which number it is? Java, which is invalid number. So it will print Java as the invalid program. Okay. And then after executing this, there is continue. Continue will skip the remaining part of the for loop. It will not increment all this. It will just, skip the remaining part of the for loop and it will go to the next iteration where the value of I is now 3. So number will be integer.parseInt 3. Okay. The number will be here integer dot passed in args of 3. Now what is args of 3? Args of 0, args of 1, args of 2, args of 3. That is 35, which is valid number. So 35 will be stored in number. Okay. Is there any exception that is raised? No. So it will not be caught and count will be incremented by 1 finally. So count, okay, will be incremented by 1. The count was 2, now count becomes 3. Fine. And then there is a closing bracket. Again, when I gets incremented by 1, since the maximum size of the arguments here was 1, 2, 3, 4, in the next iteration this thing fails. As a result, it will come out of the for loop. And finally it will print what are the valid numbers, count. So 3 valid numbers, and it is going to print invalid numbers with the variable called as invalid, which has value 1. That means 1 invalid number. So this is how command line arguments, okay, invalid command line arguments can be caught within your program. Next, in a program we can have multiple catch blocks, because you might have multiple different kind of exceptions, right? So instead of writing one general catch block, we can have multiple blocks, each capable of handling a specific type of exception. So for an example here, in the public static void main, I have a array introduced here, array of only 2 numbers 5 and 10, and then there is a variable called as b with value 5. In this particular try block, x is calculated as follows: x is equal to a of 2 divided by b minus a of 1. Now when I say a of 2, I am trying to access the array A and the second element at that particular array. Although array has only 2 elements, so this is a of 0 and this is a of 1. I am trying to access a of 2, which is actually out of bound of an array. Okay, so for this particular thing, array out of bound exception has to be raised. Now what we are doing here is, after writing the try block, if at all for some calculation there is a arithmetic exception generated, then I have written a catch block for accepting arithmetic exception of type E. I am simply printing a message that it is divided by 0 if at all this exception is raised. Next, I have also have a catch block with array index out of bounds exception, okay, which will print a message that array index is out of bound. And third, I have another catch block written which has what kind of exception? Array store exception. Okay, this exception is raised when we try to store the wrong data in a particular variable. Okay, so since now here x equal to a of 2 divided by b minus a of 1, since a of 2 falls outside the bound of this particular array, which particular exception will be raised? Not this one, but this one, array index out of bound exception. So the try block is going to throw the object, and the object will be caught by matching what kind of exception it is. So right now the matching says that it is array out of bound exception E, and then it is going to simply print a message array index error. So that means for calculating the value of x, we have just found out an exception, but the program will not stop here. The program will continue execution. Okay, after catching and handling the exception, it will continue the processing. So next we are calculating the value of y, which is nothing but a of 1 divided by a of 0. Okay, a of 1 happens to be 10, a of 0 is 5. So 10 by 5, that will be the value of y, the answer is 2, and then it is going to print the value of y, which is 2. As a result, when you run the program, first you will see the array index error, and for the next, where where that particular thing is not involved, we will see that the y value is equal to 2. So this is how we can have multiple catch blocks in the same program and single try block. So based on what kind of object that is thrown by the try block, that particular catch block will catch the object. So when an exception in a try block is generated, the Java treats multiple catch statements like the cases in the switch statement. The first statement whose parameter matches the exception object will be executed, and the remaining statements will be skipped. Students should note that Java does not require any processing of exception at all, which means we can simply have a catch statement with even an empty block to avoid program abortion. Next we shall see how to use another statement which is called as finally statement. Java supports another statement which is known as finally statement, which can be used to handle an exception that is not caught by any of the previous catch statement. It is similar to something called as default statement in the switch case. Finally block can be used to handle any exception generated within a try block. It may be added immediately after the try block, or it may be added after the last catch block. Let us see an example. So you see, I have written a try block and where we are trying for getting an exception for particular statements, and then I have a finally block. So if there is a exception generated here, the finally block will handle that exception. Okay. Also it can be used here. For example, you have a try block, you will be trying some statements. Now if the exception object is of a particular type, then this catch is going to handle it, or the next catch is going to handle it, and so on. And finally, if none of these catch statements can handle that particular object, then finally block will surely handle that particular object which is thrown out by the exception handler mechanism. Okay, so if not this, then definitely finally block will be executed. Okay, so when a finally block is defined, this is guaranteed to execute regardless of whether or not an exception is thrown. As a result, we can use it to perform certain housekeeping operations such as closing of the files and releasing of the system resources and so on. This is the same program that we had seen earlier, where we had multiple catch blocks. Notice that if there is an exception occurring here, okay, the particular catch block, after doing the matching, a particular catch block is going to handle the exception that is generated here. Now since we are trying to access the out of the bound array, this catch block will handle it and it will print a message array index out of error or array index error. After handling this exception, the program will not terminate but go to the next line where it is going to calculate the value of y, which is nothing but a of 1, which is 10, divided by a of 0, that is 5. Okay, so the answer of this is 2, it should print 2. Okay, now what we can do is we can slightly modify this code, and we can, instead of writing this code here, we can just put this code under something called as finally statement. So if not this, if not this, if not this, then it will definitely execute the finally statement, wherein it will calculate the value of y and it will print the value of y. So this is basically how you can have multiple catch statements and how you can have finally block within the program. We can also throw our own exceptions in Java. There may be times when we would like to throw our own exceptions. How we can do this? We can do this by using the keyword called as throw as follows. Just an example, throw new arithmetic exception. So what I am throwing a new object, okay, which is of the type arithmetic exception. As we have already seen, arithmetic exceptions raised when we have an error, for example, divide by 0. Similarly, you can throw new exception object called as number format exception. Number format exception occurs when you are trying to wrongly interpret a particular number. For example, you have a string, you don't have a valid number. When you try to store that particular string in a number variable, it will create an exception. Okay, so this is how you can throw your own exceptions. Students should note that exception is basically a subclass of another class called as throwable, and therefore any user exception should be a subclass of a throwable class. An object of a class that extends throwable can be thrown and it can be also caught. Now example of this particular throwable exception, I have created my own class called as myException, which extends the exception class. That's a default class for exception in java.lang. This is the constructor for my class which takes a string variable from the main. The name is message. This message it is passing to the superclass called as exception. Okay, so this is a class that I have created. Now in public static void main, I have variable x with value 5, I have variable y with value 1000. Inside the try block, I am writing a code, I am calculating the value of z. Z is nothing but x divided by y. Now note that x is 5 and y is 1000. So as you can easily find out that the value of z here after performing the division will be a very low number. It will be less than 0.01. Okay, now I am writing here, if the value of z that we calculate happens to be less than 0.01, if the value of z that we calculate happens to be less than 0.01, then I want to throw the user defined exception, throw new my exception, and what message I want to print, that the number is too small. Now note that what happens over here is, after throw, there is a new statement which is encountered. So it is going to create a new object of type my exception, and the constructor of this my exception class will be called, and number is too small. This string will be passed. So from here there is a call made to the constructor of my exception class. Okay, the message will store what value? Number is too small. And then within this constructor it is passing this message to the superclass constructor. So as a result, exception class, okay, that is going to print the message called as got my exception. Okay, now there is a catch block that catches the exception of the type my exception. It first prints system.out.println caught my exception, and then it will print e.getMessage. Now please note, getMessage is an inbuilt function which is present in the exception class. Okay, so it is going to e.getMessage will print the message that we pass to the superclass constructor, and the message is nothing but number is too small. Okay, so you are going to see that when this particular program is run, you are going to see that the output contains one, caught my exception, second, it is going to print the message using get message, it is going to print that the number is too small. And as I have already told you, whether or not catch block catches a particular object or no, if there is a finally block will be always executed. So after printing caught my exception, and then after printing number is too small, you will see that I am always here is also printed. So this is the output. First caught my exception will be printed, then number is too small will be printed, and then I am always here will be also printed. There could be situations where there is a possibility that a method might throw certain kinds of exception, but there is no exception handling mechanism to which is prevalent within that particular method. In such cases, it is important that the method caller is intimated explicitly that certain types of exceptions could be expected from the called method, and that the caller must be prepared with some catching mechanism to handle it. The throw clause is used in such a situation. It is specified immediately after the method declaration statement and just before the opening brace. For example, I have a class here called as example throws. I have a method written here called as void divide m. It's a static method. I am saying that this divide m method is going to throw an arithmetic exception. Why? Because within this method I have variable x with value 22, I have variable y with value 0, and I am trying to get the value of z, which is nothing but x divided by y. So indirectly, okay, what will happen is, if at all there is a tendency for this method to raise an exception, and mostly what kind of exception it will be? It will be divided by 0 exception. So I am writing here this method throws arithmetic exception because I know that it is very likely to throw an arithmetic exception. And what is arithmetic exception? It is an exception that comes when we have divide by 0 errors. Now in public static void main, I am trying I am writing a try block and I am calling this divide m method. Okay, so when the method is called, it is going to go to the definition of the divide m method, and then it will realize that 22, which is x, divided by 0, which is y, will cause an exception. So try block then immediately throws the exception to the catch block. The catch block having arithmetic expression variable e will handle it and it will print a message that caught the exception with whichever exception it is. There could be situations where there is a possibility that a method might throw certain kind of exceptions, but there is no exception handling mechanism prevalent within the method. We have already seen this. So in such cases, it is important that the method caller is intimated explicitly that certain types of exception could be expected from the called method. Okay, that's why for the class that I had created, here, okay, for the method called as, for the method called as for the method called as divide m, I had thrown an exception called as arithmetic exception, because there was very high possibility that this would generate an exception which is divide by 0 exception. So apart from writing a catch block that will handle such exception, I intimated that yes, this method might raise an arithmetic exception. Okay, when you run this program, you get caught an exception java.lang.arithmetic exception, and the exception name is divide by 0. Improved exception handling in Java SE 7. Now Java SE 7, it adds some key enhancement to the exception handling mechanism that makes the job of a programmer very easy. What are the inclusions? 1. It enables catching multiple exceptions in the same catch block. And second, the try with the resources statement. Okay, now you see I have a small code here. This is a try block. The code that might throw exception will be written within the try block. Now I have written a single catch block. So this is exception type 1. There is a pipe that I have drawn here, exception type 2, and so on. So in a single catch block, you can the block can actually now accept or catch any kind of exception that is separated with a pipe here or. So exception type 1 also will be accepted, exception type 2 also will be accepted, exception type 3 also will be accepted, and so on. So this is how multiple different kind of exception can be caught by a single catch block. So this is one facility that Java SE 7 has introduced. So in this, different exception types are separated by a pipe operator within the catch statement. However, the exception handling code will remain the same. Now second improvement which Java SE 7 has done is the try block are having resource statements. Before Java SE 7, if the try block dealt with the resources, then it was required to explicitly close each of the open resources. Java's SE 7 introduces a try with resources statement that automatically closes all the open files and resources at the end of the try block. Thus, there is no need for explicit closure statements. Using exceptions for debugging. As we have seen, the exception handling mechanism can be used to hide errors from rest of the program. It is indeed possible that programmers may misuse this technique for hiding errors rather than debugging the code. Exception handling mechanism may be effectively used to locate the type and place of errors. Once we identify the errors, we must try to find out why these errors occur before we cover up with exception handlers.